This is the Crowdcrux Crowdfunding Podcast with Sal Briggman, where we cover everything you need to know to launch a successful crowdfunding campaign. We speak with proven entrepreneurs who've raised money from the crowd and want to teach you how to do the same. Stay tuned because we're about to reveal how to launch your dream project. With your host, Sal Briggman.
Before we get started with this podcast episode, I want to take a second to introduce you to my friends at Fulfillrite. If you need help shipping out your Kickstarter or Indiegogo perks or rewards, Fulfillrite is the absolute best company for you. I've been working with them for a while and I can vouch for their services. They make it dead simple and take all of the headache out of shipping out all of those boxes, all of those orders to your backers and your customers. If you want to check them out, go to fulfillrite.com at fulfillrite.com. Hey, Salvador Briggman here with the Crowdfunding Demystified podcast. If it is your first time listening, you can go and check out some of the other episodes we got out there. We have more than 200 interviews. That's crazy. Time flies. Where we basically are interviewing real-world entrepreneurs. You are a fly on the wall as you learn about the things that they're doing correctly, the things that they're doing behind the scenes in order to successfully raise money with crowdfunding. My essential mission, if you will, my quote-unquote mission with this podcast is to demystify this for you. I think crowdfunding is so freaking mysterious and so strange and so I don't fully understand it. If you're just coming now to Kickstarter, it can seem like this weird thing that you don't understand why people are giving money and how do you actually get someone to donate to your project or to pledge money or how do you get traffic, these different things. My goal is to answer that for you, and I do that by getting into the heads of people that come here, as well as understand their story, hopefully also bring some attention to the product that they have, and try to document what's working right now when it comes to crowdfunding campaigns. That's been my mission for the last several years. I started my blog in 2012, started this podcast in 2015. I also do a YouTube channel. I also have books that are out there like Equity Crowdfunding Explained, Nonprofit Crowdfunding Explained, Real Estate Crowdfunding Explained. I got Kickstarter Launch Formula. So my role, I think, is as an educator and also as a person who has access to some of these individuals. I can bring them on the show and you can sort of take advantage of an hour's worth or 30 minutes worth of free educational advice. Also, thank you to our sponsors. If you have not yet, I have a great book out there called The Kickstarter Launch Formula, which is usually applicable if you're looking to raise money for a product or a project or a creative product on Kickstarter. And a lot of people have said very nice things about that book, as well as the companion audiobook, which is available on Audible. So if you're more of a listener, you like listening to podcasts, you want to listen to an audiobook, while you're in the car or on the way to work, or you're doing dishes, or you're cleaning your room, you can download a Audible version of that book at crowdcrux.com/Kickstarter audio. That is crowdcrux.com/Kickstarter audio. That's crowdcrux.com/Kickstarter audio. Just go to that link. If you're interested, you can also get a free 30-day trial of Audible, and you'll get a free copy as well of the Kickstarter Launch Formula, which I think is a pretty freaking awesome deal. And you can also listen to some other audiobooks on other topics or whatever it is that you're interested in. This audiobook, the goal with my formula is to document and sort of bring all the teachings that I've had over the last several years, and I combine that into one cohesive book, which is basically a blueprint. You just have to follow what I say, and you will far improve your chances of launching a successful crowdfunding campaign. I also have an option out there if you're interested in getting one-on-one access to me. I also do coaching. So coaching is where I will take a look at your strategy, maybe give you feedback on your marketing thus far. You can also take a look at your specific product, how I can maybe connect you with some other people in the industry, or how I can help you, as well as get into the nitty-gritty of a successful launch for your specific category and your specific situation and resources and how much you're looking to raise. As you can see from my podcast, there are a lot of different types of products out there on Kickstarter, so I really make this an individual experience for you in an hour-long intensive coaching session, which also has homework items and action items, and it's a lot of good value. So if you're interested in that link is crowdcrux.com/coaching, crowdcrux.com/coaching, crowdcrocs.com/coaching. But without further ado, I want to introduce you to an incredible entrepreneur who not only has a 6-figure Kickstarter campaign, but also has done it in the fashion category or niche for a new travel suit custom made with athleisure fabric. It's coming up right after this. Hey guys, welcome back to the Crowdfunding Demystified podcast. Today we are speaking with a 6-figure crowdfunder who has invented the world's best travel suit custom made with athleisure fabric. And I'll let him tell you about it in just a second. It's more than 200 backers and a very successful campaign. I think we're going to learn a lot from this one. Ray, thank you so much for coming here and welcome to the show.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
You can get started maybe just talking a little bit about your story. And I know you launched your company a little while ago. When crowdfunding entered the picture, you could maybe share with us that.
Yeah, absolutely. So my company's called Sene. The quick background on us is we do custom clothing for men and women. And essentially we take the concept of high-end tailoring and we combine it with technical fabrics that you would expect from companies like Lululemon, and we use it to make smart casual essentials. And so we are over 3 years in, and we're based here in Los Angeles. And we had, I think crowdfunding is something we had never really considered in the past. And we had started beta testing this travel suit, and the reviews were amazing. And then my business partner had said, hey, I think this would be perfect for Kickstarter. And initially I said, no, you're crazy. I have no interest. But then the more we thought about it, we realized this is an incredible community. Actually, one of our, someone on our board of advisors used to be the COO of Kickstarter.
Oh, wow.
And so we've had some conversations with her about it. And, we just felt like this was the right time to do it. Got started.
When it came to that project, I mean, you've already launched different products, it seems like, in the past. I mean, you have a pretty good Instagram following, have like 19,000 people there. What was the thought process to that launch?
I think Kickstarter inherently is, there's this whole community behind it. And we thought that this was, in a lot of ways, we thought about it as a growth hack. It's a way to access a lot of people who we felt like were aligned to our target demo. They care about design, they care about functionality. That's sort of at the heart of this product. And then we felt like it was also a great way for us, because it was compressed. Just the nature of, the certain amount of days behind it. It also provided like a really nice opportunity for us to get a lot of press for the launch. So it really helped us actually access a bunch of press by doing the Kickstarter campaign as well.
Awesome. That's really cool. When you were launching this project, I think a lot of people plan on doing a campaign for like 30 days or even 60 days. It seems like you kind of geared towards actually a shorter campaign period here. So it was 14 days. What kind of influenced that decision?
I think there was a few things. One is when you're doing a Kickstarter campaign, it's all hands on deck. I think I understand why companies, when they're launching their first product, will want to extend it to be as long as possible. But for us, we're already operating the business. We knew that the Kickstarter was going to take a ton of time out of our normal operations. And then also, there's that valley of death in the middle. We didn't really want to have that be too protracted. So, and then I think finally our advisor, her name is Beth Weiner. She had said that she's a fan of short campaigns. So all that considered, we thought, 14 days feels good as a set amount of time, allows us to do it in a very methodical way, but also not have it, sort of derail all the other initiatives we have going on.
Okay, so you launched this campaign. It looks like you surpassed your goal pretty quickly on the first day, it seems. And so I think it's honestly a testament to your product. Obviously the listeners can't see what a flex suit looks like or what athleisure fabric is. Could you maybe speak to why is it that this is like different? I'm kind of like I just recently started to get more into fashion, honestly. And I think it's a really nice looking suit. Could you talk a little bit about it? Like, what makes it different?
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, but I think for us, when you think about a suit, for most guys, it's something that they have to wear to an event, but it's not comfortable. And, same goes for women as well. And the traditional idea of custom is this very like hoity-toity type of thing. But what we wanted to do is to take the same amount of technical detailing you would expect out of a $3,000 bespoke suit and combine that with a premium Japanese athleisure material. So we work with the same mill that Lululemon uses for their ABC pant, and we work with them to develop like a specialty fabric. And so we're taking that, sort of technical engineering on the fabric side, combining it with this age-old craftsmanship, and then we're making it custom fit. So I think what that gives you is this suit that's ridiculously comfortable. I think there's this moment when people try it on in our beta test where they would just put on the jacket, and you do that motion where you give someone a hug, and usually that's where you feel the jacket pulling. And the suit, when you put it on, it doesn't look like a technical suit. It just looks like a really nice suit. And you put it on, and you do the hugging motion, and then people always say, "Oh my God, this is so comfortable." So that's what gets us really excited, right? We knew that this was a product that solves a pain point that inherently is very easy to do storytelling around,
and feels great.
It felt like exactly, it feels amazing. It's just we're so confident in the product that it just made the storytelling aspect of it a lot easier.
I mean, it looks like an $1,000 suit, honestly. Just saying that there. It looks super high quality.
Yeah,
and I'm surprised, honestly, at the price point.
Yeah, I think it's there's a few things we're doing on the production side that allow us to make the price point more reasonable. Like our patterning process is automated. We laser cut the fabric, which makes it more precise, but also allows it to just be more efficient in the way it's being made. So there's a bunch of things we're doing which allows us to get at a price point that's awesome, but it's made on the same production line. Like we have a bespoke program that's not online; it's sort of in person only, but it's made on the same production line that we are using for our $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 suits.
That's awesome. So I have a few more technical questions about your product, but before we get into that, I think also suits are one of those things where you're right, like it's kind of uncomfortable to wear. And I know that, like, at least the females in my life always tell me that I should be wearing a suit more. They're like, to men, well, a suit is to a woman as what lingerie is to men. So, like, when a woman sees a guy in a nice suit, she's like, that's incredible, Whereas guys think more like lingerie or something like that. But
That's right.
I've always wanted to do that. And the problem is you feel uncomfortable and you don't feel good. So I think that's really important. I think you're hitting on this really important point, which is why people are connecting with you. Now, of the people that backed it, like, what percentage would you say is coming from your own community versus Kickstarter and like other sources?
Yeah, good question. So, it was actually in the first 24 hours, 40% was coming from our community. But then by the end of the campaign, I think it was around 15% was from our community. And then the rest were from other people.
Wow. So you really then are connecting with people who, strangers basically, who are discovering this and they're relating with what it is you're saying. They like the design and they're backing it. I think that's really great validation, man.
Yeah, we were super jazzed. I mean, what was really cool was because even I think something like 40% were from people who were discovering us through the Kickstarter platforms, in the sense that they were just browsing on the site and then decided to transact. So, we were, we kind of were talking to the Kickstarter team, and we found that our conversion rate was, it was a factor higher than what you'd normally see for fashion projects. So I think that also made us feel good about where we had landed with the product.
Fashion's really difficult too, because I don't know about other guys out there, but I always kind of am skeptical about buying things online because, like, you can't try it on, And while I do buy some stuff online, particularly like jewelry and that kind of stuff, like buying a suit online is also kind of like intimidating because, like, what if it doesn't fit, But you seem to have overcome that objection. How did you do that?
Yeah, I think there's a few things. One is we have a good track record, so I think a lot of people are hitting the site. They see that our customer feedback or reviews. We have a lot of sort of credentials behind us, where, on our board, we have the current CMO of Alexander Wang. We have like the head of retail design at Google. So we have like some of the fashion credentials, but I think the biggest thing, because all of that, anyone can get, good people on the board. But I think for us, we have a 60-day fit guarantee, which makes, I think that's the big thing where, you can wear your thing for 60 days, free exchanges, alterations, remakes, returns, 100% money back if you don't like it. So I think we have a very generous policy because we believe that the product is so good that once you get it, you're going to love it.
Okay. When it comes to that guarantee, like, is that something you do on your traditional project? So your traditional website, or is that something you came up with for the campaign?
It's something we do. We launched it at the start of this year, and then we just saw a dramatic uptick in our conversion. So
I would think so. Yeah. That's awesome. Congratulations on that. So it seemed like with your launch, number one, a lot of that was coming from your additional community at first, and then people on Kickstarter started to discover it. What do you think about Instagram? Because I've kind of gotten mixed messages when it comes to the effectiveness of Instagram for driving backers. What are your thoughts on Instagram?
Yeah, I really think the question is, how good is your Instagram before the campaign starts? It's interesting because we have friends who have, companies that are $7-10 million in annual revenue, but their Instagram is pretty bad. So I think it just depends on the actual level of community engagement. For us, I think it's really in the last half year where we've hit our stride with Instagram. And a lot of that has been focusing on what we call like sub-communities or microcultures. So one thing that's really important to us is sustainable fashion. So a huge part, behind our mission is we only make a piece of clothing if there's someone there to wear it. Everything's made to order. And it's all about, fashion's currently the second most wasteful industry in the whole world. We want to change that. So that, that's a community that we really care about. And so that community really got behind us for the Kickstarter campaign. And, we're always in dialogue with them on Instagram stories. We're always asking for feedback on new products to develop, what to change. And another, community is sort of the Asian American community, because myself and my business partner are both Asian Americans, underrepresented in fashion. And so that's another community where Asian American creatives, people in Hollywood, that we're sort of invested in on Instagram, also outside of Instagram, of course, but there we make it a point to both showcase the story of that community and also to like always be in dialogue. So I think because of the high level of engagement that we get there, it also helped us out on Instagram. And then a lot of those people who have big followings in those two communities promoted us during the course of the campaign. And it was authentic because we already had that relationship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's really important. And if you're tapping also into a niche community, I think it's easier to post stuff and to create content that they care about versus trying to appease everyone, because you're never going to have an account that like is great for everyone. So sort of nailing in on those niches can really help with that, it seems.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it's just building real relationships. And so that you're not at the point where you launch a Kickstarter campaign and then you're, asking people who don't really know you to post about you. These are people where we've kind of been in conversation. And when we came and asked, hey, would you mind just kind of sharing about this? They're like, yeah, no problem. And then a lot of them overshared, right? Or they did way more than we ever asked of them. So I think that's just the power, I think, of Instagram if you can do it right. And then I think there's some certain growth hacks for Instagram. Like Instagram is really promoting IGTV, and there's a way you can share previews to your Instagram feed. So if you post Instagram story or IGTV videos that way, Instagram over promotes that much more than a feed or even an Instagram story. So there's certain hacks like that, I think, that are helpful. If you take your Kickstarter video, cut it for IGTV, share that early, and then create multiple cuts of it, it's going to get a lot more airtime.
Yeah, even just doing like lives and those things, I always notice those go to the top of my feed.
Absolutely.
And, I think you'd have to have a pretty, decently structured live, but it could be interesting as well to, at least have people aware of what it is you're doing leading up to the launch. That could be interesting.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So when it comes to your project, like, how would you describe yourself? Are you the business brains? Are you the designer? Are you the marketer? Like, what's your specific role here behind the project?
It's related to the project, and also I think just in general for the business, I do more content, creative direction, plus product. So those are the three things that I really work on. So I think a lot of it was around concepting the emotional sort of positioning of the product, and then also, I did a lot of the product design before during their development process.
What was the thought process behind putting together the page? Because you have a few different things you kind of have to sell here. Like, you have different colors, you have different styles, you have men and women. Like, it can really be easy, I think, to be a little bit overwhelmed with so much choice. What was your thought process like putting together this page? Like, did you look at other pages and draw inspiration? How did you do that?
I think we looked at pages that did really well in fashion, and then we looked at some of the top Kickstarters of all time, and use those as reference points for less so if we're going to copy their layout, but more so, okay, these are great proof points that we should consider. Mm-hmm. And but then I think we have to go down to this is a product we really believe in. How do we make it sort of overwhelming in terms of the amount of proof points or reasons to believe on the page, so that people feel really comfortable doing something they may have never done, which is buying something custom. And we got some good feedback along the way. For example, like as many GIFs as possible. And then, the 60-day fit guarantee was something that we tested in different placements on the page. And we found that it really helped us to bump it pretty high, as well as to even put it on sort of the subheader on the page, even include that in there. Our location in Los Angeles was helpful, our board, our personal stories. And then we got a really nice endorsement in the middle of this from one of these fashion stylist that works with Silicon Valley tech billionaires, and then she did a video for us talking about a testimonial. So I think those are helpful for us to reduce the barrier of how scary it might be to order something custom.
I had to interrupt this podcast episode because I want to introduce you to my friends at The Gadget Flow. Their product discovery platform reaches 22 million people per month. They've helped more than 5,000 crowdfunding campaigns thus far, and they have a social media following of more than 700,000 followers. If you want to gain access to their marketplace and list your own product, you can go to thegadgetflow.com/submit and list your project today. What I liked too was you gave people an idea of where they might wear it. Like, they might wear it while lounging around, or even if they're taking care of their kid or they're traveling. It's really kind of gives me a sense of like, oh, okay, so I could wear it here and there, and like it's just not for necessarily a special occasion. And it kind of made me think about, oh yeah, I guess I could, because I always think like, why do I need a suit? Like, where am I going to wear it? So it's kind of like you're also answering those questions and that people might naturally have.
Yeah, I think to your point, it's about giving people context that feel familiar. So we thought, we don't just want to say it has four-way stretch. We want to say, okay, what does that do for you? So if you're a dad, that means you can put on your suit and you can cuddle with your kid before you go off to work. Or if you're traveling, what does that do for you? So, we wanted to get to the emotional benefits behind it and not just be, it's so easy, I think, for technical products to just be about the functionality, but we wanted people who had kids or travel a lot or are women in business to really look at this and say, yeah, that's me. I'm in situations like that. Yeah, maybe this is right for me.
Mm-hmm. With those other things, like those stretch goals that you have, if you hit 100K, you then have, more colors, basically, it seems, that you can unlock. Was that something that you are glad doing, or looking back, would you have, had a different decision? Because I've kind of had mixed thoughts on stretch goals. Sometimes it can be really good. It can be motivational. Other times it can make fulfillment a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, good question. So for us, I think the 100K stretch goal is great because that was on the higher end of where we wanted the campaign to go, and we also wanted to introduce another colorway for FlexTech, but we needed to hit a certain volume to justify it. And so I think it was great. There was a lot of people during the course of, when we were getting close to 50K, people were, messaging us and saying, hey, are you going to do more colors? And I think honestly for us, because this was our first Kickstarter, we weren't sure if we were going to hit 100. And so, that was something we were kind of nervous about. But then we also felt like if there's this many people asking us for another color, then it probably is interesting enough as a stretch goal. I think the issue is, if we had introduced a stretch goal that people didn't care about, it probably wouldn't have helped us.
I think that as you're going, the project kind of evolves. And as you deal with the real world feedback, people leaving comments, you then can tailor the project a bit more. And maybe you need to learn, okay, I need to include this like fitting calculator. I need to mention that more prominently on the page, or, you get these different questions and such as you're going through the project. And I think that's just kind of naturally how it is, that it evolves over time. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think to that point, we going into the project, we had no idea what our stretch goals were going to be. We knew that generally speaking, we might introduce an additional colorway. And then we had a stretch goal in the middle, which was around unlocking more customization options. That in our minds was not the real stretch goal. The real stretch goal was getting to a point where we could offer more colors, but we didn't know where to price it. And so, that was something through the course of the campaign, as we saw more momentum, as we kind of looked at how things were trending on KickTrack, we felt like, okay, 100K feels like a reasonable number for a stretch goal. So totally on that point. And then also just the evolution of things, sort of the hierarchy of messages on the site evolved as we got deeper in the campaign.
I just have one or two more questions for you. One being that this is your first project. I think you guys have done a phenomenal job for your first project. Like, you've done really well. You surpassed your goal wildly. You hit the 6-figure mark. Lots of good indication and lots of good press. So congratulations. Would you have done anything differently if you could redo or go back in time with the project?
No, I think we nailed it. We did exactly what we set out to do. And we ended higher than we anticipated. I think in terms of how we wanted to execute our first campaign, it went exactly the way we hoped. I think the one thing perhaps we could have done more is do more pre-press, because press drove a decent amount of the backers. So I think we could potentially have done more press, but we're pretty happy with how it landed. I think we are interested in doing another Kickstarter. And we're going to use the learnings that we did behind this to run another one. In this current one, we didn't do any paid advertising behind it. It was all affiliate, affiliate press and our own network, and then also the Kickstarter community. And I think the next one, we are interested in testing paid acquisition as one of the channels as well. But yeah, I think we're super happy with how this campaign went.
That really does surprise me, honestly, that you guys didn't do any kind of like Facebook ads or anything like that. Because I imagine you do that for like your own website, right? Like your own shop.
That's right. Yeah. I think it was because we were offering a Kickstarter discount already. We felt like the offer was good. And so we wanted to get a sense of how it would perform if it was organic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it's pretty much just like testing the waters and see what the demand is, kind of. When it came to doing these sort of affiliate marketing things you're talking about, what are your thoughts on like paying influencers on Instagram to post your, wearing your suit or like, using the products? What are your thoughts on that?
I think we're not super crazy about, we love influencer marketing for our main website channel, but I think for Instagram to Kickstarter, I don't think we would necessarily pay for it if it was purely for that reason. I think it's great because it also, you create a bunch of content, and that's a value in of itself. It's a good question. I don't know that we would do it because I think the ROI on affiliate, I think Kick Booster is great. So if it was something where they were willing to do it,
for a commission,
that's fine. But a paid placement.
What about like YouTube? Because I've seen so many more like male fashion YouTubers out there. And I also had an individual who came on this show for a laptop stand, Moft, and she got a YouTuber to post about it, and it led to like $600,000 in pledges. It was crazy.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I'm just curious. Like, so is your thought? Do you have any thoughts on YouTube at all?
Yeah, I think YouTube's awesome. I can't share what the next product is, but we have a product that is, I think for our current product, our average, the tier that most people back was right around 400. So it's prohibitive for a decent amount of people. We're working on another product that should be in the low 100s. So we think it makes it dramatically more accessible. And, we don't have to be as narrow in our focus in terms of the type of targeting we have to do. So that I think YouTube is incredibly powerful. I think also the transition from watching the video to doing something and ordering is easier than Instagram, where you might catch it mid-scroll. So I think YouTube's awesome.
Mm-hmm. When it comes to this campaign and also your business, obviously you have some success there with like the amount that you've raised and connecting with so many people. You have a great accolades. I'm just kind of curious, aside from those, what would you say you're most proud of when it comes to your work in the company and also on the project?
Yeah, I think we love hearing from people how good it makes them feel. It's ultimately, typically when you're buying apparel, you're buying something that's mass produced and it's not personal, right? And you can still get amazing clothing that way. But I think for a lot of people, they think of custom as something that's so far out of reach. And for them to get clothing that makes them, look better than they've ever looked. And that, we also do casual wear as well. So when we hear people say stuff like that, like, for example, we had one customer who she had really saved up to buy a pair of Flex Tech pants, like a casual everyday pair. And then her car was broken into and someone stole her pants. And this is 3 weeks after she got them. And she was devastated. And she messaged us. She's like, "Hey, I'm going to save up and buy another pair, but it might take a little while." And then her husband messaged us and said, "I have to replace these because these are by her favorite. She's going to kill me if she knew I reached out to you guys. I don't care how much it costs. I'm going to buy it for her." And so stuff like that, when we get those kind of messages, and of course we hooked them up. But I think that's what gets us going, right? It's when people feel like something that they expect to be highly, impersonal becomes so personal, and they're so happy about it. That's what gets us pretty pumped, and that's what we're most proud of.
It's also kind of neat because like you're waiting forever for that product to arrive, and you're kind of making someone's day. You're making them feel more confident, and you're making them just look in the mirror and kind of be like feel happy about themselves. Like that's kind of neat that you can do that with your work. And it's kind of different, I think, than a lot of other industries, because you're particularly in fashion. You can really alter someone's happiness or confidence or even just how the world perceives them. It's a really interesting impact that way.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. We spend most of our lives wearing clothes, right? Like we're usually not naked. And it's just this thing. We, the standard size system was like our clothing system as we currently know it was standardized in the 1950s, and it just hasn't really changed. And it's a very linear scale, right? It's like extra small, medium, large. But there's this like tremendous diversity in terms of body shapes and sizes. And, I think naturally most of us don't really question it. But I think when you decide to take the leap, try it out, it's just like, whoa, I can look this good and this can be every day. You just kind of feel great going into whatever context you have. So yeah, I think that's the magic behind it. And it's what gets us excited. And hopefully, we hope that we can continually, we're always looking at ways to make it more accessible, to make the turnaround quicker, and make it easier for people. So that's the hope.
I think just to add on to that one last thing, I think that we sort of move towards like this whole casual workplace environment, which I really like. Obviously, I work from home, But at the same time, I think one of the reasons is that people aren't naturally willing to wear more like professional looking clothes is just uncomfortable. So it's kind of like I would be willing to dress up a little bit more if I knew that it was completely comfortable, like I'm wearing sweatpants, but like it's basically athleisure fabric, you know?
That's right.
And so
Yeah,
I'd be willing to look better at work if it was more comfortable.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think a long time, sort of the guardians of formal wear felt like that was unacceptable to do that kind of twist. But I think, the tides are changing and people are rethinking what's possible.
Definitely. My final question for you is if you could talk to another entrepreneur or creative type in the audience who, like you, this is their first campaign, maybe they've never launched a product before or they have, but if you could pass on like a word of encouragement or a final tip, a story you could even share, anything like that would be great if we could end on that note.
Yeah. I think the first thing is make sure you have the right product and that the story makes a lot of sense. Funny enough, we originally were going to start with a custom sweater. And then we thought about it and we realized, no one really wants to buy a custom sweater online. Like there's definitely a market
unless
for
you're
it,
like super hipster. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not this huge pain point, right? Where sweaters are so ill-fitting or, it wasn't something that I think would have been a disaster if we did that on Kickstarter. And
I would buy like more a custom T-shirt. I think, honestly, personally.
Yeah, totally. So I'm really glad we didn't do that. And I really think the reason this performed well organically was just because the product itself was good, and it's taken us a while to develop a product where the positioning was so clear. And I think. If you can't, I think a good litmus test is if your friends can't accurately describe what this thing is that you're trying to market, is like, don't do it. I think this was, the product was so clear. And then I think that made it a lot easier. And then also just the press that we had lined up for it made our lives much easier. And then after we did a ton of work pre-launch, didn't sleep a lot, and then once it launched, we just kind of watched it roll. So just pre-work, get the right product, and do your homework beforehand.
And don't sleep a lot.
And don't sleep. I actually got the flu really bad after the campaign was over. I think my body was just needing to crash. Yeah. It's horrible.
That sucks. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing some great tips and advice. I appreciate you, and also the work that you're doing to sort of transform the image when it comes to fashion and also, guys fashion. And I look forward to seeing if you guys are going to do another project in the future, and also what that product that you were teasing is going to be. So we welcome you back if you're interested, but thank you so much for sharing some of those tips.
Thank you so much for having me. Really enjoyed it.
Let me tell you about our latest sponsor, SendPro Online by Pitney Bowes. Shipping can be complex. Things can get really confusing really fast. With SendPro Online, it's easy to save time and money no matter what you send, from letters and packages to overnights and flats. You can easily compare USPS, UPS, and FedEx in an all-in-one online tool. You can print shipping labels and stamps directly from your printer. You can even track all of your shipments and get email notifications when they've arrived. SendPro Online is only $14.99 a month, and listeners can get a free 30-day trial when you visit pb.com/crowdcrux. That's pb.com/crowdcrux. Experience the convenience of SendPro Online for yourself when you sign up for a free 30-day trial. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Crowdfunding Demystified Podcast. My name, of course, is Salvador Briggman, and you're listening to the Crowdfunding Demystified Podcast. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and you took something away from the story of this incredible entrepreneur, also in a category which isn't, I think, covered enough, the fashion category. Some of the things that you might have learned, whether it's applying that to your Instagram following or how to launch a successful campaign. I hope you took something positive away today. And if nothing else, at least just spending some time with a real world entrepreneur, like a real individual individual who had a smash success with crowdfunding, and there's no reason why you can't do the same thing. This was his first project. This could be your first project, or it could even be your second. I don't think there's anything nowadays that really holds you back except for yourself. This is kind of a difficult situation, man, because there's so much technology. Like, you have all of the distribution. You have social media, which is basically free distribution. You can do even paid advertising if you want to drive traffic to your campaign. All of the teachings are out there. I've documented them, whether that's with my blog, with my YouTube channel, with my podcast, my online forum, kickstarterforum.org. I've worked hard to document this for you so that you know what to do when you go live and you hit that live button. In addition, there's so many other ways out there that you can spread attention for your project. You learn a bit about PR, etc. It's so easy nowadays to go from having nothing to then having a business in the span of 6 months, a year, 2 years. You can radically change the entire trajectory of your life in a matter of months. How insane is that? We live in a time where that exists, and the fact that you are not willing to take advantage of that, I think, it's just so frustrating and infuriating. But I empathize with you, man. It's difficult. It's hard. It's hard to put yourself out there. It's hard to face possible rejection or even worse, failure. That's just what we have to go through as entrepreneurs. I believe there's a price for everything in life. And you could either be having a healthy, regular paycheck at a 9-to-5 job, maybe like a corporate gig where you're kind of doing soulless work and you're working in a cubicle, and you're supporting your family maybe, or maybe, getting a nice healthy check, and you can, take your boyfriend or your girlfriend out to dinner. That's great. But I think that life is about something more. It's about actually making an impact and doing something where you feel like you are living up to your potential, where you're not only growing your skills and doing new things, and life is exciting, you feel alive, but life is also about doing things for other people and making an impact in the world, whether that's something as small as maybe giving them a fashion item, which causes them to feel better about themselves and feel more confident, and maybe even improve their social status a little bit in their friend group. Or it could even be other things, though, like creating a new gadget that solves someone so they can have a new bag, which will allow them to go and travel to places that they never would have gone before. It would have been a huge hassle to have to pack all just their stuff in a luggage. Entrepreneurship is one of the most selfless things, in my opinion, on this planet Earth. And the reason is that it's so freaking hard to do, and you have to get through so many negative emotions and so many beliefs about yourself, and you have to push past all of that. You also are employing other people. You're putting a product into the world, which, if people like, is going to improve their lives. And all the time, you have to be thinking about the bottom line and how this is profitable, and you're putting your own finances at risk and at stake. So I personally think that entrepreneurship is one of the most selfless things that you can do. And I also think that you deserve it to yourself, if no one else, to at least give this thing a chance. We only live once, for the most part, unless you're maybe like Alexander the Great, or, even Benjamin Franklin. You maybe know who they are, you vaguely know their name. Maybe you know a little bit of history of who Alexander the Great is, or maybe even who Rockefeller is, but you don't actually know who they are. You know what I mean? You don't actually know who that individual is. And I think that it's great to maybe try to be wanting to conquer the world or wanting to build a big business. But at the end of the day, it's all about you and what it is that you can do for other people while it is that you're alive. While it is that you actually, are breathing and you have the ability to do great things, you have the energy to do great things. Life is about just taking risks, man, and really doing stuff that you've always wanted to do. And I promise you, when you live to be 80 years old, 75 years old, and 90 years old, you would rather probably have memories rather than dreams. Think about that for a second. When you're 90 years old, do you want to continue to have dreams oh, man, I really want to launch that next company, or I really wish I had done this? You don't want to have regrets, and you don't want to have dreams. Instead, you want to have memories of the great stuff that you tried out and maybe failed at, but that you can laugh at, or that did work out and that totally changed the trajectory of your life. So I'm here to help you do that. If you're interested in booking a one-on-one coaching call with me, you can go to crowdcrux.com/coaching. That's crowdcrux.com/coaching. And we can get started setting you underway and creating a good foundation for your launch. Hope you enjoyed today's episode. My name is Sal, and I will see you next time.